Every great book hides a story beyond its pages. Discover remarkable authors, unforgettable novels, and the secrets behind the words. Welcome to Stories Between the Lines. In this video, I have selected 5 interesting books about psychology, burnout, boredom, meaning, and the effect of repetitive work on the human mind. Together, these books examine not only the experience commonly called burnout, but also the term itself. Is burnout always an accurate description? Or has one popular word begun to replace several different psychological states? Some authors describe chronic stress and exhaustion. Others focus on boredom, lack of challenge, meaningless work, loss of autonomy, and the pressure to turn every part of life into achievement. Taken together, their ideas suggest that people may use the same word for problems that have very different causes. This matters because different causes require different answers. Exhaustion may require rest. Boredom may require challenge. Meaninglessness may require a new purpose. And repetitive work may create resistance even when the workload itself is not extreme. These 5 books offer a broader psychological view of burnout and help us ask whether the concept is always used correctly. The first book is Out of My Skull: The Psychology of Boredom by James Danckert and John D. Eastwood. Boredom is often treated as a minor inconvenience, but it can become one of the most powerful forces in adult life. It appears when we want to engage with the world but cannot find a satisfying way to do so. A bored person does not necessarily want to do nothing. Very often, he desperately wants to do something, but none of the available actions feel worth choosing. That is why boredom is restless rather than peaceful. The body is present, but the mind keeps searching for an exit. In repetitive work, this feeling can last for years. The employee knows every procedure. He can predict every meeting. His skill has increased, but the task has not grown with him. Eventually, his attention begins to rebel. He checks the clock. He starts fantasizing about another career, another city, or simply another version of Tuesday. This is easily described as burnout. But the book suggests another interpretation. Boredom is a call to action. It tells us that our current activity is failing to engage our abilities, attention, or sense of agency. The signal does not tell us what to do next. That is why boredom can produce creativity in one person and destructive behavior in another. A person may learn a new skill or redesign his work. The need for stimulation does not disappear because society considers our routine respectable. Out of My Skull helps us see that boredom is not proof that a person lacks discipline. It may reveal a mismatch between the person and the structure of his days. Rest can reduce fatigue. It cannot make a dead routine feel alive. The second book is Flow: The Psychology of Optimal Experience by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow describes periods when attention becomes so absorbed in an activity that time seems to change. These people are using energy and may be working very hard, yet the experience does not feel like the empty exhaustion produced by meaningless repetition. One reason is the relationship between skill and challenge. When a task is far beyond our abilities, we feel anxiety. When it is far below them, we feel boredom. Engagement grows when the difficulty is high enough to demand attention but not so high that action feels impossible. This explains why a difficult day can leave us satisfied, while an easy day leaves us psychologically drained. A person may complete 50 familiar actions and feel that he has not truly lived during those hours. Another may struggle with one demanding problem and finish tired but mentally awake. Modern workplaces often remove challenge in the name of efficiency. A task is divided, standardized, measured, and repeated until almost anyone can perform it. The system becomes more predictable. The human being inside it becomes less engaged. The work may no longer require the person to develop. Flow offers a better question than, how could I force myself to stay motivated? The question is, what would make this activity worthy of my full attention again? Sometimes the answer is more responsibility, learning, immediate feedback, or greater freedom. Sometimes no adjustment is enough. A routine may have reached the end of its psychological usefulness. You may not have lost your ability to work. You may have lost access to work that demands the best part of you. The third book is Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber. Its title is provocative, but its argument addresses a serious form of suffering. Graeber describes jobs that even the people performing them privately believe are pointless, unnecessary, or harmful. The employee may receive a salary, have a comfortable chair, and carry a respectable title. From the outside, he appears fortunate. Inside, he experiences the humiliation of spending his finite life on activities he cannot honestly defend. This challenges the belief that people become exhausted only because they work too hard. Meaninglessness can be exhausting even when the workload is light. Imagine completing reports that nobody reads. Imagine attending meetings held mainly to prepare for other meetings. The mind does not measure effort only in hours. It also asks, why am I doing this? When no believable answer exists, every task becomes heavier. People can endure remarkable hardship when they see a purpose. Meaningless work creates the opposite condition. The body remains safe, while the personality slowly feels erased. This is why a long vacation may fail. The employee returns rested, opens the same meaningless spreadsheet, and feels the old weight within an hour. The vacation treated fatigue. It did not repair the absence of purpose. Bullshit jobs does not prove that every dissatisfied worker has a useless job, but it gives language to an experience often treated as shameful. Sometimes the problem is not your attitude. Sometimes the activity truly does not deserve the amount of life it consumes. The fourth book is The End of Burnout by Jonathan Malesic. Malesic examines the gap between what we expect work to provide and what work can realistically give us. Modern culture does not merely ask us to earn a living. It tells us to find our identity, community, dignity, purpose, creativity, and destiny through our profession. The question, what do you do, quietly becomes, who are you? This creates an impossible burden. One activity is expected to pay the bills, develop our talents, express our values, provide status, and make existence feel meaningful. When work fails to satisfy all these demands, we interpret the disappointment as a personal crisis. We do not simply dislike our job. We feel that we have failed to become ourselves. This is especially dangerous in work that once felt meaningful. The more identity we invest in work, the harder it becomes to admit that the relationship has changed. Malesic helps us separate a human life from a professional role. Work can be important without becoming sacred. It can provide meaning without being required to provide all meaning. A person may also need friendship, family, craft, service, study, physical activity, and unproductive time. These are not decorations around a career. They are separate sources of identity. Repetition becomes especially destructive when one routine occupies the entire psychological landscape. If the job is repetitive but life is rich, the person may tolerate it. If the job is repetitive and is also expected to be life itself, the person begins to suffocate. The answer is not always to discover a perfect career. It may be to stop demanding that employment carry the full weight of existence. The fifth book is The Burnout Society by Byung-Chul Han. Han describes a culture in which people increasingly exploit themselves. The old worker imagined an external authority saying, "You must." The modern worker often says, I can improve, I can produce more, I can build a personal brand, I can transform every interest into income and every quiet hour into progress. The command appears positive, but it has no natural ending. There is always another level, metric, audience, and improved version of the self. In this system, even variety can become another routine. A person changes projects but carries the same demand into each one. He does not rest because rest must also be productive. Then he wonders why nothing feels alive. Han complicates the idea that burnout is caused only by external pressure. Sometimes the prison has been installed inside the person. No manager needs to demand endless performance because the individual demands it from himself. This explains why changing jobs does not always solve the problem. A person may escape one repetitive structure and rebuild it somewhere else. The location changes. The inner command remains. The deeper escape is from the belief that every moment must justify itself through achievement. Human beings need challenge, but they also need experiences that are not measured. They need silence, wandering, conversation, play, and attention without a target. Otherwise, life becomes a factory in which the product is the self, and the self is never considered finished. So, does burnout exist? Yes, but the word is often used too quickly. The World Health Organization treats burnout as an occupational phenomenon connected to chronic workplace stress, not as a medical condition explaining every form of dissatisfaction. That distinction is useful. A person can be exhausted by stress, but he can also be bored by repetition, wounded by meaninglessness, trapped by lack of autonomy, or crushed by impossible expectations. These experiences may overlap, yet they are not identical. Calling all of them burnout can hide the correct response. Exhaustion may require recovery. Boredom may require challenge. Meaninglessness may require a different purpose. Powerlessness may require greater control. An identity built entirely around work may require a larger life. Compulsive self-optimization may require doing something that produces no measurable result. The uncomfortable truth is that rest sometimes returns us to a life we no longer want. That is why another weekend is not always enough. You may sleep for 10 hours and still hate Monday. This does not mean the vacation failed. It may mean the vacation revealed the difference between being tired and being trapped. Before diagnosing yourself with a fashionable word, ask more precise questions. Am I exhausted, or am I understimulated? Is the workload unbearable, or has the work become meaningless? Do I need rest, or do I need to learn something new? Do I hate this activity, or do I hate having no choice about how I perform it? Has my profession become too difficult or too easy to deserve my attention? And perhaps the most important question is this: have I built a life or only a routine that efficiently repeats itself? The answer may not be dramatic. A small change in responsibility, schedule, environment, or difficulty can sometimes restore attention. A meaningful project outside employment can reduce the impossible pressure placed on a job. But sometimes the signal is clearer. A chapter has ended, even if the salary continues. A role that once developed you now merely contains you. Recognizing this is not weakness, it is information. The mind resists endless sameness because life is not only the preservation of energy, it is also movement, discovery, difficulty, surprise, and change. Perhaps you are burned out. But perhaps you are not broken at all. Perhaps a healthy part of you is refusing to live the same day forever. Which of these 5 books best describes your experience? And when did useful stability become a prison of repetition?